Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Donate Life flag raising ceremony at the Lions Eye Institute. I'm James. Obviously, as some of you know me, some of you I just met today, but thank you so much for being here. It's April. We're honoring organ tissue donors across the United States, and today we're privileged to have a very special family with us. But before we go to that, we are going to have Jason Woody, our president and CEO, say a few words.
Thank you, James. And thank you, everybody, for coming out this morning. So we're a part of about close to 1,000 facilities nationwide. We'll be doing the same thing. It'll be at the eye banks, organ banks, tissue banks, and hospitals. Matter of fact, our hospitals in Florida will be raising a similar flag to this to honor a donation. Since our inception in 1973, we've brought the gift of sight to about 150,000 people. And you people say, well, what's 150,000 people? So I tell people to imagine that, and now, as far as imagine Raymond James Stadium completely filled twice. So if you're ever going to a Bucks game and you're catching a game there and you look around, imagine every person in there received a corneal transplant, and then times two there. So those are the impacts that we have today. And as far as, and it's just amazing work that you do, as far as each and every day. I tell everybody, we have two bookends, and I tell you that all of our jobs are the ones in the middle. Now, I'm not a great bowler, so it's almost if you had to put the rails up when you're bowling, is first we have the donor families and the individuals that wanted to be a donor, and then we have the recipient on the other end. And those are the two that every day, that is our work and focus, just those two individuals. How do we honor the gift that a family has given and friends that have given, coupled with how do we ensure that recipient gets a safe graft and doesn't have to wait? Every day I tell people, as we talk about, and we'll talk a little bit about obviously Carissa today, is, let's don't focus on the dates. I always tell people in life, I always like to focus on the dash. Every time when you go, if you ever go and you've lost a loved one, I've lost some recently, and it's so much the date they are born and the date they are lost. But those are just two dates. This time each and every day is celebrate what's in between that. Let's celebrate that dash and all those minutes. It's a small little dash, but I really think it's the most important. So I want to thank each of you for what you do. I want you for as far as your commitment to our organization, how you serve donor families and our recipients, and so again, thank you as we celebrate this month there and honor those that have given the ultimate gift of helping somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So this year we selected one of our donors, Carissa Smith, to invite her parents to speak. Janine Funk is the donor mom. She's going to be here in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say that what you have done, she has created a memory book of her daughter, and she created that for the recipients to receive, and it's just the most beautiful thing. And that gesture that we haven't seen since I've been here, I haven't seen something so special, and I wanted to make sure that you knew how much we appreciate what you've done and what it meant to those recipients receiving that. So if you can please join me. And you are more than welcome to begin.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to introduce Carissa's dad, Greg Smith, and her very best friend, Dana.
Welcome.
If I get a little emotional, please be patient. Greg and I are so honored to be here with all of you today in the celebration of all the donors and the special donor flag ceremony. Every one of the donors are so special for the gift of sight that they so selflessly gave to another. Lives have been forever changed by each one of the donors who are honored and remembered on this most special day. I would love to share a few memories of our daughter Carissa with all of you so you may know her too. She was simply the best person I have ever known, and I loved her with all that I am. Carissa was born and raised here in Florida. Carissa was always thought of herself as an old soul. Carissa loved old movies, Alfred Hitchcock being favorites, old TV shows, I Love Lucy, The Golden Girls, along with music from the 60s. Her favorite band of all time was the Beatles. She loved antique stores where she could go and seek out treasures that reminded her of her grandma's. We loved to travel and enjoyed many trips, but her most favorite destination was the Smoky Mountain National Park and the town of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Carissa was very creative and loved to draw. Board games were always a favorite. No one could beat her at Scrabble. She would lay down just a few tiles and net a triple word score. Carissa was a very girly girl too, much like me. Loving makeup, nail polish, all kinds of hair and face products. She loved colorful clothes, but her favorite items were purses and shoes. She loved to try on hats. We could never go to a department store without trying on the biggest, funniest hats, laughing right out loud the whole time. Even Greg had to try on the hats. Carissa found fun in the simplest of things with a ready chuckle. Carissa's favorite flower was the Gerber daisy. I always gave her a huge bouquet of Gerber daisies every year on her birthday. Looking back on her younger years, Carissa was so excited at age 16 when it was time to get her driver's license. Sure, she was thrilled at the opportunity to drive the family car, but that was not the most important aspect of getting that driver's license. Carissa had expressed to us that she very much wanted to be an organ donor. This was something she felt very strongly about, and she wanted this designation on that driver's license. When she was handed her new license, she was more excited about that designation as an organ donor than the license itself. After high school, she attended college and received her associate's degree and 2 bachelor's degrees from the University of South Florida in 5 years. Carissa was very bright, and she was enjoying master classes at the university when our family genetic syndrome started to really interfere with her life. She had her goal set on becoming a gerontology neuropsychologist, which I had no doubt she would achieve. Unfortunately, the syndrome greatly affected her health, and she had to forego her education and her dream of helping others in the field that she had chosen. It really took hold of her in her mid-20s. Permanent disability soon followed before her 30th birthday. Even though Carissa was so challenged physically, her spirit remained bright. Few knew how much she struggled and the constant pain she endured each day. The pain was not entirely relieved by her prescription medications. She endured over 40 surgeries in the last 20 years of her life. When asked how she was doing, she always responded with a cheerful, "I'm hanging in there." She was a beautiful person inside and out. She always had a kind word to say. She thought of nothing of complimenting a perfect stranger. It was just her nature. Carissa had the most infectious laugh. When she started laughing, everyone could not help but join in too. She had a very strong faith and was honest as the day is long. She was always the first to apologize when oftentimes it should have been me. When I asked her best friend Dana to tell me about my daughter from a best friend's point of view, she told me that Carissa was the most genuine person she knew, always speaking the truth, even if it was difficult to hear sometimes. She described her as very smart, and she said, "I know this because I went to college with her." She said that Carissa had a childlike quality to her as well. I asked if an example would be her watching Meet the Press while wearing her Kermit slippers, to which she responded exactly. Anyone who knew Carissa was aware of her deep love of animals, kitties and pups, and also her pet shell family of tortoises and turtles. She was always rescuing tortoises or turtles when they wandered into the roadway and moved them to safety. I am so proud that Carissa was my daughter. We were extremely close, and we often joked that we were twins 24 years apart. We never ended our day before saying "I love you." With both of us on permanent disability from our genetic syndrome, we lived together all her years, and we helped take care of each other every day. Each day I would try to think of something I could do for her that would make her day a little better. Each night, she would end the day by saying, "Thanks for taking care of me, Mom." I could always tell I told her there was nothing else I'd rather do. It was the Christmas holiday season, Carissa's favorite time of year, and we were all ready to celebrate. All our decorations were displayed, her favorites being our large snowman display on our mantle, along with our collection of adorable gnomes. The presents were bought and wrapped. Our special family holiday dinner was planned. The tree was up, and we were going to finish decorating it with all our whimsical ornaments that day, watch our favorite holiday movie, White Christmas, in the evening, which was our annual tradition, but it was not to be. Carissa passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in front of me from a pulmonary embolism that Wednesday afternoon, December 23rd, 2020, just 2 days before Christmas. She was only 40 years of age. I did not realize she had passed away when the paramedics rushed her from our home to the hospital. We later learned at the hospital that she did not have a heartbeat from the time the paramedics took her from our home. Of course, we asked immediately about organ donation in the emergency room, but the doctor gently shared with us that too much time had passed. We were so saddened that Carissa's final gift was not to be realized. To say that Greg and I were devastated would be an understatement. We were in the deepest, most crippling grief we have ever known, which I suspect is no different from what other donor families experience. In complete shock that Carissa had passed away, we then had to plan her funeral. Carissa shared with me many years ago, when she was a tender age, that she only wanted one song played at her funeral. I could not imagine I would ever need this information, as surely I would pass before her. This was not to be. She shared with me that she wanted What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong to be that one special song. The day before her funeral, after delivering bouquets of flowers to the funeral home, I returned home to a message on my answering machine. It was from a woman named Janine from the Lions Transplant Institute. She said there was an urgent matter she needed to speak with me about. I could not imagine what she could be calling me about, and I found it odd she had the same name as me. That never happens. Well, that call changed our lives. Janine explained to me that after Carissa's passing, their transplant team went to the hospital and harvested both of her corneas. After we spoke for several hours going over all the information she needed, she told me she felt certain that Carissa's corneas would be able to be transplanted and that she would be back in touch with me later. Having learned this information changed how we felt about Carissa's passing. Even though Carissa was disabled, she at her final moment, she was finally able. Her final wish was going to be realized. This eased our grief, knowing how important this was to our daughter. Due to COVID, Greg and I were the only ones to attend Carissa's funeral, and the song What a Wonderful World was played at the beginning and again at the end of her service as we said our final goodbyes. Carissa and I always felt that that song was from the perspective of a person who had already passed away, who was looking back on the world. When I thought about her corneas being harvested, I knew it was not by chance that that very song was the one she chose. The song describes all the wonders of the world he sees through his own eyes. To think that her two corneas traveled all the way to the country of Jordan and were successfully transplanted into two people is beyond comprehension. We since learned that those surgeries were successful and those two people have restored sight. Both were girls, one aged 27 and one just 5. They are now seeing the wonderful world through Carissa's own eyes. This miracle was achieved first because of her donor designation, and second, through the talented and gifted folks here at this institute. None of this could have been realized without the dedication, skill, and hard work of each one of the people here at this institute. Specifically, Greg and I want to thank Janine, Destiny, and James, such special people who have guided us on this journey. Each one of them holds a special compassion and dedication to the people's lives that they touch. Their kindness is without measure. I want to make sure you all know that. Their kindness is without measure. We are better for having known them. On behalf of Carissa, Greg and I thank you for all you've done for our daughter. Carissa would have been embarrassed by this special recognition, as she was a very humble person. However, Carissa would be ecstatic to know her final wish did come true. She would be over the moon to know the precious blessing of sight that was given to her two recipients. Made possible by you, we are forever beholden to you. In fact, I believe with all my heart that Carissa is here with us this morning at this moment on this very special day, knowing what a wonderful world it truly is.
Thank you, Janine. We will proceed now to raise the Donate Life flag. This concludes the ceremony. We're just going to have a group picture, beverages and snacks, and then the